Hello and welcome again. This is Operation High Jump 1946 1947. This is the Great Awakening Unit 1 Timeline Research. So let's get into it. Before we do, please drop a thumbs up and a like so I know that you are watching these videos and enjoying this content. In last week's video, I covered Operation Paperclip. The information I went over connects to the German scientists that were brought over to the US, the UK, and the Soviet Union. So, one thing I didn't get to touch on is the connection to the German weapons programs. On the surface, the Allied forces were all in to obtain Adolf Hitler's wonder weapons. This would include rocket technology, biological weapons, military and naval technology, and Operation Paperclip would deliver the scientists throughout the world, and that's what the Operation Paperclip was supposedly about, was getting these scientists. But there was another operation, Operation Lusty, which would try to gather and obtain all of the technology they could in the ways of weapons and things like that. So during this operation, it was learned that the technology was missing, and that was the UFO type technology, as well as other mysterious technologies which may connect to the black goo substance. So there's your biological weapons, your military technology, and your naval technology, along with the German rocket technology. Now, a lot of this, when you understand that these people are all in on these wars together and there is no space race because that was fraudulent, it was really about, you know, getting into America, subverting the people, and weakening the remains of the old world from within. That's how they would do it because they could never defeat the descendants of the old world or Tartaria with actual warfare. So it has to become a psychological warfare and get the people to defeat themselves. And that way you can easily conquer them. Divide and conquer. So Operation Paperclip turns into Operation High Jump. Through Operation Paperclip, it was learned that the technology, personnel, missing gold artwork, large amount of mercury were missing, and this is the secret reason why Operation High Jump was launched. This would become the final battle of World War II and would show the controllers that the battles were won, but the war was far from over. And, Operation High Jump 1946 officially listed as a scientific expedition lasting from 1946 and 1947. Unofficially, it was the final battle of World War II, taking place in the southwestern ocean of Antarctica, and it would fail and was ended by high technology used by the Antarctic inhabitants. Now, there's lots of ways of looking at this because it was so long ago and we didn't know much at the time. But now that we've done so much research into the old world and Tartaria, it makes people wonder what was really going on. Now, the secret conspiracy theory is that they went down to stop the people who escaped because they had to get these Nazis, which kind of doesn't make sense if you just brought 6,000 of these Nazis and put them into every facet of government that there is throughout all of the westernized world and NATO. You put all these Nazis throughout those programs, but then you also had to stop the Nazis. Another thing that should be questioned is the Truman death camps, where you forcibly starved all of these German people, civilians and military personnel, to cover up evidence. Now, did some of those people who they found out you were going to starve them to death, did they escape and go to Antarctica? That's a possibility. Another thing I was thinking was that when they launched this Operation High Jump, the massive amount of U.S. troops and personnel and equipment, they said these giant flying saucers come out of the ocean and sink this fleet, and there's no evidence of that. But, because they were sunk or whatever. But at the same time, it could have just been delivering supplies and merging with them to create a new type of breakaway civilization or to colonize hidden lands that we are unaware of. Something to think about. So the expedition was captained by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. About Admiral Byrd, he was a member of the Fraternal Lodge Number One, chartered in 1793, and is a part of the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of the District of Columbia, and was the first Masonic lodge established in the city of Washington, D.C., making him a high ranking member of the Fraternal Masonic Order. And you'd have to think that Lodge Number One, this is where George Washington and a lot of the supposed founding fathers were all members of this lodge, which would have been the people who infiltrated to overthrow and rewrite history, getting rid of the old world and going at war with the remnants or the leftover population of Tartary or Tartaria. So only the evil and most satanic people are welcomed or invited to join Lodge Number One. So, because of this, he would have access to the hidden information and pre flood, mud flood knowledge. This would include maps, secret technology, and the knowledge of what may lie under the ice of Antarctica or beyond Antarctica, which is on the other side of the ice wall and the other hidden land that would be there. So, I mean, a lot of questions when you look at these people, understanding that before the internet, we really knew how bad these Masons were and how bad every person you see today on TV is controlled opposition. They're either in some satanic cult, they're in this Illuminati, they're Freemasons, they're Zionist Jewish people. There's always a secret underlying agenda that these people have. And this is where they can pretend that they're incompetent or whatever, but something is going on that's keeping us at a specific level so that we are controlled. And all of these people seem to be in on this con that unless you're awakened, you do not see it. And you are just living your NPC type life where there's no way to ever get out of the cycle until you start to be aware of the symbols and symbolism and the games being played on people. So, Admiral Byrd led privately funded expeditions to both the North and South Poles, planting both US and Masonic flags at both locations. It's also said that when the moon landing took place, two flags were planted on the moon. One was an American US flag, and one was a Masonic flag. If you believe we went to the moon, or if you believe that the moon landing was an expedition to another land on the edge of our crater or realm or wherever it might have been. But Masonic flags were said to be planted at or on the moon by the astronauts who were all Freemasons. So, another thing to think about. So, the two expeditions he led, one expedition in 1929, the other in 1935, he would go on to create a Masonic lodge in Antarctica, lodge number 777, which the numerology is there. 60 of the 82 members of these expeditions were Freemasons. The others may have been members of other secret societies or other types of, satanic cults or specific bloodlines or something like that. These expeditions were funded by the Rockefeller family and were extremely important to the controllers to claim those areas and keep anyone from discovering what may be there, claiming land like they claimed the buildings and cities of the old world. So if these people have access to these old world maps and stuff, and they knew there were giant metropolitan type cities with advanced technology that is completely untouched, they would have to claim that and make sure that they can hide it from everyone else. So imagine if you're living in like an 1850s frontier type world with horses and wagons, and you knew there was a modern day New York City somewhere on the other side of a hill or a mountain range. You do everything you could to keep people from finding that. And that could be one of the things that's hidden within these national forests that they do not want people to investigate. The Grand Canyon could have access to these secret underground cities. We know they're constantly finding lost civilizations throughout the rainforest and in South America and things like that. So, another continent that no one knows about with giant cities and roads and cars and trains and technology and all this stuff isn't far off when you understand who's pulling the strings and how the same groups control the banking and financing, the media, the newspapers, the social media. So any word of anything like this gets out, they can get rid of it immediately or have access to them, understanding that you're looking into this stuff. And as long as they can shadow ban you and keep you from getting a large following, then they can control the narrative. And that's kind of how this works. So the founders are the people finding these things. This is why the founding fathers found this stuff and claimed it. That's why they want to claim land, and setting up a claim to a land and gaining the title to it is how these people operate, because it's like pirate kind of law. And this all connects to the postmaster of shipping and the maritime admiralty and banking law, which I'll do a video on that in the future. It's all in my book, but it's very interesting how if you understood this rights of claiming, you could claim your own land and then basically own it. This is why there are squatters' rights and stuff like that. And so after you squat at a place for a certain amount of time, and you are getting post or mail delivered to you at a place that you do not own, you then have rights to living there, and it's really hard to get you out of there due to you having a claim on that land or that house or wherever you are staying in. So, secrets of these Freemasons and stuff. Here you see Hitler, and he's looking at these giant maps on the table. Both maps are flat Earth maps or are realm maps. And here's what he's looking at on the table. So, if you can see the map with the red circle around it, and it's got another circle, that's what they're looking at, is this Gleason's map, which is the accurate map of our realm, and understanding where the openings are in this outer ice wall, and also that these openings are guarded by an unknown force, whether it's technology, whether it's a giant Titan-sized creatures or dragons or whatever it is, the openings are guarded. And this is why when you're escaping, you either have to go under the ice wall or over the ice wall. It's very almost impossible to probably go through it unless you have a certain type of access. What that access is, we don't know. It could be you blow a horn or a trumpet and a certain sound frequency lets you go through, something like that. I think a lot of like the God of War video games, and how the mythology is really more accurate than our historical record of billions of years and dinosaurs and stuff like that. So something to think about, that's very interesting. And this is why they had to perfect their submarine technology and also the old world Zeppelin type airships, because you can go under or you can go over. but it's very difficult to go through. And that might be one of the reasons why Admiral Byrd's fleet supposedly was destroyed, is they tried to go through the ice wall and they were eliminated as they got close. So this is an invitation from a Grand Master's dinner where only the Master Mason people are invited to these dinners where Admiral Byrd is going to talk and probably reveal the secrets of what he actually saw and what was really going on there. There's a famous TV interview of Admiral Byrd talking about land masses the size of the North American continent filled with coal and resources and uh, massive fossilized trees and all that stuff, mud fossils, the remains of all this stuff he's talking about. And then this video is removed. No one ever talks about it again. And it goes back to there's only ice there. But it was like an oasis beyond the ice where they were they're seeing massive trees and all this stuff. All these things should make people understand what these masons and stuff, the secrets they keep. They're not allowed to reveal any secrets to those who are not initiated into their Masonic order. So they're not allowed to acknowledge any types of truths, which would be flat earth, Jesus Christ, the mud fossils, the mud flood, the founding fathers, the old world. They're not allowed to reveal any of those secrets to non members or non initiated people who haven't been granted access to those secrets. So they will lie to you and never tell you the truth. They will ridicule you and but they all secretly know. Because if you're smart enough to argue with these people and ask the correct questions, you can get them into a position where they're not allowed to reveal the secrets. And that's like a way of understanding how to argue with these people. It's the same with arguing with any globe earth person. When you prove them wrong, they will deflect and change topics. You will show them all this evidence, and when you show them how things really work that makes sense, where a child can understand it, they want to deflect and show you some math problems or something. It's a very secretive way, but if you understand Freemasons, they use these deflection and distraction techniques. And once you understand when they do this, you just might as well stop talking to them because they're controlled opposition people. So another interesting thing about Operation High Jump is this Order of the Penguin or this penguin stuff with penguins keeps coming up because that's supposedly the inhabitants of Antarctica. It's just penguins up there. But there's lots of Pizzagate type emails and emails between DC people where they're trying to acquire frozen penguin pineal glands, shipping them, and there's like this black market elite trade going on of these penguin pineal glands. Now, here is a receipt for a shipment of these frozen penguin pineal glands and that's very interesting when at the time you would say, "What are you using this for?" And they would say, "Well, scientific research." But we now know about the adrenochrome and how all this connects with Pizzagate and these extraterrestrial people or lizard people or the Vril, which the Nazis were really into the Vril and the Vril Society. Everything connects when you do the actual research and you question and look up this stuff for yourself. You'll see the connections more and more and more. I have done all of this research and connected all these dots. That's why all my videos and stuff, they all go together into one giant cohesive theory because it's all part of the same truth, I guess you could say. And I'll get into this more and more. I'm trying to get all these videos done before they wipe my pages and channels and delete all this stuff. Or there's this massive reset again where all the internet's wiped out. That's why I really had to get that my book finished, where all this information is in there. So there's at least a hard copy in print, paperback print form that you can have physically. But I'm going to keep doing the videos and touch on all this stuff. And by the time I'm done with all my videos, which hopefully will be by the end of the year, everything's out there, everything's done, and the evidence is there for people to witness for themselves because people are never going to do this research. It's too late. I've been looking into this kind of stuff since 2010, and it takes, how long does it take you to graduate high school? It's like 12 years of education to get a understanding of what reality is. Well, it takes about 12 years of researching all their lies to understand kind of what the truth is. And that's what I'm trying to fast track through to people is how vast the conspiracies are and what they're really trying to hide and keep from the people. Something to think about. So history should ask the question, why was Operation High Jump needed if Operation Paperclip was enacted? Why are you going to stop these Nazis who escaped supposedly if you just put all these Nazis into every branch of government that there is? You put them throughout the military, you created NASA to dump these people, you create the CIA to dump these people, you create Israel to hide these people, you do all of this stuff after World War II to hide these Nazis. You stage a fake Nuremberg trial and get 20 or 24 of these people, put them on trial, and then that's it. We're done with World War II. Stop looking into it. We're into the Cold War now. And that's how they do all these major psychological operations. They have a massive event which distracts you from looking at what happened. It's like Oklahoma City bombing, false flag, and then this OJ trial takes place right after. And then no one's asking what's going on and what you did at Waco or Ruby Ridge or anything like that because we have a giant media operation going on where everyone's then distracted on, well, did OJ do it or did he not do it? It doesn't matter. It's all a prearranged media false flag to distract you and keep you from looking further. Another thing to think about. So the secret supposedly through the research says that these Germans that escaped got all this stolen golden technology and went to Antarctica to build, this breakaway base in the ice, which makes no sense at all because Admiral Byrd himself, before World War II takes place, is over there looking through and discovering all this land that has no snow on it and it's a temperate climate in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's like a Los Angeles type area on the other side of this ice wall. So they wouldn't be building secret bases in the snow if Antarctica is 70 degrees below zero or something. All these narratives can be proven, disproven very quickly. So these Germans supposedly escape after World War II. The high jump operation was a supposed debt collection, technology collection event. And we know the US government are the ones who are in charge of debt collecting. That's what most of these wars are about. Anyone who tries to get rid of the central bank, which is a debt based currency, the United States government comes in and forces you back onto this debt system, whether it's Iraq or where Libya or wherever they're at. Gaddafi. They try to remove the central banks. They try to get rid of the debt based currency, the petrodollar, and then war is declared. And then this is supposedly like the Germans were going to do this in World War II, get rid of this, go back to the gold standard, and then war is declared on Germany, and they all move in to kill off anyone who's not going to use their money. And we see a lot of that going on with BRICS now, how all these BRICS nations are getting off of the petrodollar, and now World War III is getting ready to start. But it's going to be interesting how this World War III thing plays out. It's very interesting that there will be a third world war. Does the third world war last 5 years, or does World War III last for 5 days? If they do have nuclear weapons and a nuclear bombs were dropped in order to stop the war, nuclear weapons will be launched to start the war. And when you have a mass scale nuclear war and fallout, the war is not going to last for years. It will be over very quickly, and they'll immediately get past all this. It's something also to think about that should make people question what is really going on with this Trump assassination and all this kind of stuff. Assassinations and false flags are how they get these wars started. So, U.S. government are the ones who are in charge of debt collecting. A massive fleet was sent to recover the stolen assets, numbering between 4,000 and 4,700 men, 3 aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, lots of other equipment was all sent supposedly to where this new Schwabenland is located to reacquire all this stolen gold and technology and stuff. Now, it's also possible that these 4,000, 4,700 men and all this equipment supposedly sunk and is at the bottom of the ocean, but it was used to help colonize these other lands. Another something to think about, where no one's ever going to ask, where did all these men go? They're on this other land doing whatever they're doing, colonizing, creating buildings, infrastructure, and a lot of shipments appear to be going to and from these secret lands. We've seen that today. And where these cargo ships go, a lot of them go straight through Antarctica, where solid ice and land should be. These ships are going straight through that. So there's a lot of deception going on. There's also a lot of deception to where you look into the deep underground military bases and how much supplies and stuff go underground, never seen again, to basically go to these other colonies that are hidden from the general public's knowledge. So, all these ships going there, how is this not questioned by people who were told the story of gathering scientific research or it being a scientific expedition? Scientific expeditions don't usually require aircraft carriers and fully loaded submarines with torpedoes and stuff. That should eliminate the scientific expedition part of the argument, showing that people will believe what they are told and they'll believe what they want to believe to avoid the truth at all cost. The fleet of men and ships was known as Task Force 68. 68 having to do with the crossing of the 68th parallel and designating the entering of the Antarctic Circle. And a task force is a group under one leadership for a defined goal, which was Admiral Byrd. So, as always, the head guy in charge is someone put there by the controllers, and they're always a Freemason type person. And we know that Hitler was a Freemason, Napoleon Bonaparte was a Freemason, George Washington was a Freemason. All these people are Freemasons. Okay, that shows the connection to the controllers, and we're starting to understand that the controllers have a connection to being Jewish or Jewishness. And at the top of all of that, it's a satanic, Luciferian kind of satanic cult mindset where anything done in secret in the shadows and the darkness has nothing to do with the light and Jesus Christ. And therefore, you understand where all this goes and how all of this plays out when you can understand that basic principle of it. So, the circumnavigation all connects back to the flat earth, and these longitude and latitude lines are where they're crossing the most outer circle of our realm is where they're trying to exit this Task Force 68 to get to the other side of the ice wall or onto the Antarctic continent, supposedly. Here's the patch. Task Force 68, Operation High Jump, Navy South Pole Expedition. Okay, massive aircraft carriers, 3 aircraft carriers, submarine, all this stuff going there for science. Not likely. So, another thing to think about when you're trying to decode events that took place 70 something years ago. So, the recovery of the lost assets of the controllers would include the stolen gold, mercury, artwork, naval resources, supplies, and over 300,000 men and women who went missing after World War II. And they would know by census data or military records how many people were around and how many people went missing. The other not well-known secret is the high technology that also went missing. This was the highly advanced flying craft resembling the flying discs or UFOs with the direct energy weaponry and other technology not possessed by the attacking naval forces. The attack was said to occur in New Schwabenland, a secret military base on the Antarctic continent, and this the Glock, Nazi Bell technology, all this secret technology when the Allied forces are going into the bunkers of Germany, all this secret technology was lost. And this is this Nazi Bell thing. It's a type of anti gravity engine, and we know it exists. Here's footage of this thing moving, and it's high voltage, low amps causing this lifting effect in this anti-gravity type event. And this thing was also, here's it rising, was said to glow bright colors like the arcing of a welder or something. Very bright electric discharge would come off of this device. And all this technology was missing when they moved in. Or maybe this technology was left, but this is really old technology that we'll get into later when there's a lot to this story of what's going on. Now, what's widely not widely known as the German connection to the secret organization known as NIMSA. This group was responsible for developing back engineered old world high technology since 1850, known as the Sonora Aero Club. They would be responsible for regrouping of Germany and Argentina, and then later Antarctica. Argentina is the last stop on the way to Antarctica. It's right before the border of the Antarctic continent and contains many resources needed for the breakaway civilization or the colonizing of the secret lands. I'm going to do a whole video on Sonora Aero Club. I got lots of information about it. It's just it's already hard enough to do one video a week and find all this information. So that's coming. It'll be here. Probably I'll work on that next month, try to get that out to everybody. But there's a lot of secrets between Germany and it was a German secret society, but this was back in 1850 when there wasn't even a Germany yet. Okay, it was back then it was known as Prussia, and before it was Prussia, it was Tartaria and Tartary. So it all connects to the old world and finding and claiming all this technology after this mud flood event takes place where these people are trying to get their hands on all of this technology, back engineer it, see how it works, hide the stuff that would make civilization too powerful, and basically keep you using the technology that they can control you with, like oil and gas and the electricity, how they make it and how they get it to your house, that kind of stuff. So if you understand the technology of the old world, the story we have been told falls apart because they have all these zeppelins and flying machines. And if these Nazis are escaping 300, 400,000 German civilians are escaping or military personnel. They're not loading 300,000 people into U-boats and going to the ice to live in the ice. That makes no sense. But how many people could you load onto these giant airships and just fly right over the ice wall? That's the secrets that they don't want you to know. I mean, look in the background of this picture. You can see, I mean, these Zeppelins were not hard to make. They didn't rely on, they're not filled with gas that you would have to make. It's a giant aluminum type structure, and you put electric current into this structure, and it lifts and drops by the amount of current you're putting into it. That's how these things work. So it's something to think about when you understand the connections between the old world and the technology, and that these wars are a cover story to cover up the buildings, the free energy, the stuff like that. And that's the big missing piece of the puzzle they don't want you to find out. So before the operation was fully underway, the crew had to go through a series of secret rituals, making them all low-level Masons to ensure they would be successful. So it's like doing a satanic ritual in order to cloak your men with a type of energy so that, who knows, they would be invisible to the technology there or something. Rituals were performed, and this is researchable. You can look into it. So, the ritual preparation and occult ceremony, most likely unknown to the participants of the operation. So, they wouldn't understand they were going through a ritual. They would just, everyone else is doing it, so we got to do it. So, after or while the fleet was crossing the 33rd parallel, 33 connects to Freemasonry, the captain lowers the U.S. flag and raises the Jolly Roger Skull and Bones pirate flag, the Skull and Bones pirate flag that we're all aware of from TV and stuff. Now, if you're aware of the Masonic shipping aspects and flag law, this would never be allowed if it was an actual military United States operation. You're not taking your country's flag down and flying this pillaging skull and bone flag that signals death to the people around. That's something that you should, it's very interesting. Now, the flagship or the lead ship was named the Mount Olympus, also connects to kind of mythology and stuff. Uh, the Mount Olympus ship is a non-female ship title, and usually all ships have to have a female name connecting to the shipping and delivering of product and stuff like that. Birthing and ships, making birth and liberty and all these kind of things all connect to shipping. So when the Skull and Bones flag is on top of this Mount Olympus ship, which has a non-female title, it connects to them having permission through the people who control the shipping routes, which all connect to these controllers and stuff. So this would signal to all that the order of death was coming. The Skull and Bones flag is that of the Elosion Club, founded in 1856, which was connected to other secret societies. This is like the Skull and Bones Club, and there's many clubs that are all secret members of these fraternal orders, which connect to Masonry, which connect to the controllers, which connects to Israel, and connects to all this satanic kind of stuff. This would mean that according to maritime law, as a type of naval false flag operation, which connects to the Freemasons who were in charge. So this is where the term false flag comes from, is you take one of your ships, put the enemy's flag on your ship, and attack ports on the way, and then you could justify going to war. That's why a lot of these wars are started with naval false flag operations, whether it's the sinking of the Lithuania or whatever the ship was called, I can't remember, the sinking of the Titanic, the the USS Liberty getting attacked. Everything connects when you understand the secret codes and symbolism that they kind of hide in plain sight. Now, the high jump crew, I think that no matter the outcome, I theorize that 90 to 95% of the crew would have been killed, keep the truth or the secrets from escaping, and what was truly going on behind the scenes and below the surface. It's all still top secret. This also may connect to the operation was to colonize land, and that's what these fleets would have done. They would have made way and started colonizing and building on the other side of our realm as some kind of a last ditch effort, resources, we don't know, but it's interesting. The more you know, the bigger the theories kind of get of what they were really doing and what was going on. So the ceremony that the crew underwent was to pay homage to the god Neptune. Those who were subject to the ritual were called initiates by the higher ranking crew members. They would refer to each other as polywogs, which is kind of a weird thing, as a connection to frogs, which has certain satanic themes, which, I mean, you look at the QAnon stuff and their symbol is frog, the Keck frog. Some people could say we're using the symbols that they have in order to hide our stuff or to get our agendas forward. Something to think about. It was passed off to the crew as a form of hijinks at sea. In reality, it was a type of humiliation ritual where the crew was stripped half naked. They were paraded around and paddled like in a fraternity or something by the high ranking members. Then they would all line up and kiss the belly of this fat, ugly sailor who wore a crown, and was titled the Neptune God. They would all drink they would be dunked and have their head shaved, another type of satanic baptism type thing. Then they said they were given a mixture of chewing tobacco combined with motor oil, and they were all given this mixture to chew, which is like, who's making this stuff up? The motor oil could have been a cover for the liquid known as the black goo substance, and this was to install demonic entities or parasites within those who underwent the ceremony. So everyone there would have had a type of, vril parasite in them, which would also justify why they all would have to be killed at the end. Another something to think about. When concluded, the crew was ready to be sacrificed and ready for death, I guess, in the eyes of these higher ranking members. And I've talked about the black goo before. I've got a lot of information. I'm going to do a whole larger series on the black goo. It's an advanced research topic covered at a later point of study. I've done some stuff on it. You could look at my Project Bluebeam video. There's a lot on it in there, and also the 2 vibrational codes videos I did. Operation High Jump was broken into 2 waves of attack vessels. The first group was commanded by Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. Its primary function was to set up base of operations. The second group was the attacking fleet commanded by Richard Byrd. Once the base of operation was established, the second group would expand the perimeters, create landing zones and supply drops for troops. Once the base of operations was secured, and the enemy was located, the fleet would begin attack formations heading to New Schwabenland. As the attack was commencing, instrument panels and equipment would begin to malfunction and become disabled. Out of the ocean arose several massive disc shaped craft, which would destroy 90 to 95% of the fleet. The remaining ships would retreat, full speed, returning to the U.S. with Admiral Byrd on board. All equipment was abandoned, all supplies left, crew casualties numbering over 4,000 men. That's the official kind of secret story of what happened. And here's kind of a picture of what was going on with this high technology. If these UFOs were have anti-gravity, they have a type of magnetic shielding where their bullets aren't going to hit, and they can just use their direct energy weapons to sink all these ships very quickly. um, but who knows what happens? Who really knows? No one was really there. Admiral Richard E. Byrd, born 1888 to 1957. So he was born in the time where growing up, the reset of all this stuff would have been seen in real time. And in our minds, we think 1888, chip, horses and wagons. But then you look back at these expos and the buildings, the architecture, the streets paved, the the technology and the arc it was way advanced. It wasn't wagons and horses. It was high technology that would slowly be phased out in form of this new technology. And you think about what we're dealing with today with the electric cars. In 20 years, if all the cars are electric and they stop making oil and gas engines, then there's an EMP attack and the electric cars are useless. 20 years after that, you're slowly remaking the internal combustion engines again and reinventing the stuff that was already invented in the past, which, if you've read my books, the Unit 1 timeline research goes through and shows how several things were invented several times over. They invented the typewriter 4 or 5 times. They invented the internal combustion engine 4 or 5 times. They invented steam engines 3 or 4 times. All this stuff is invented and then reinvented and then reinvented again. Very interesting. And that's kind of a common theme of our historic timeline is none of the things they say add up. So secrets that we know are still kept to this day: the true size and shape of our realm, what happened to the Tartarians, what caused the mud flood, and what's on the other side of the ice wall. These are the Masonic secrets that if you aren't in on the satanic rituals and your soul hasn't been compromised, it's up to you to learn these things because no one's going to tell you unless you join one of these secret clubs. So here are the logos that we that run our world today after like World War II, all these, International Maritime Organization and the Civilian Aviation Organization and the World Health Organization and the UN. It's all flat earth maps. And another interesting thing is this symbol. Is this the symbol for the ice wall? If you look at this Task Force 68 logo with the penguin, it's got that ice wall kind of symbol, which leads people or me or the researchers to believe that it was a mission going to the other side of the ice wall. Something to think about. Now here is the United Nations symbol. This is the most current one, and I've kind of went through it and broken this down. So we'll start one, the outer edge of where the ice wall is. That is the firmament. Okay. Two is that symbol we just looked at, the kind of wreath symbol. That is the symbol for the ice wall. Then you have the 3 stars. That connects to the Orion constellation. Orion connects to the controllers and Saturn and, those from heaven to earth came and stuff like that. Then you have the flat earth map, 4. 5, within the flat earth map or the UN thing, it's broken into 33 divided spaces or a grid with 33 sections, which connects to Freemasonry. You can see the outer kind of symbol in a pattern looks like the pyramid in All Seeing Eye. You can see the moon in the center and the phases of the moon. That connects to the supposed artificial moon base that's in orbit, or also the reflection of Earth, possibly. It's just when you start to see these symbols and ask questions, you see them more and more, and you could decode this stuff more and more and more. And we know they live their lives according to symbolism and numerology. So, something else. Pretty interesting. Was Operation High Jump a mission past the ice wall? If Operation High Jump was a Masonic operation, why would Masons be trying to recover missing Nazis after Operation Paperclip if they put all these people into power and they supposedly won the war? Very interesting. Think about how all of these people have this Masonic connection, and we know that the Nazis and Masons are connected through the symbols and symbolism. And at the heart of Freemasonry, it's all Jewish mysticism and occultism. And on top of that, it's all Satan, Luciferian, and satanic. So, was Operation High Jump a mission to stop the Germans from escaping? Did we gather information about the lost technology or the abilities of the escaping Germans? Was it a secret Masonic operation to join the Germans and, take our people and their people because they were both in on it from the beginning and joining for the colonization of other secret lands? Have we colonized land beyond our realm? What might be going on beyond our realm? These are the questions that we ask today. You can find me on Mud Fossil Research and Truth, Mud Fossil Truth and Research, Twitter in the box below at Mud Fossil Guy, at Mud Fossil Truth. The bottom one just got deleted and nuked, so that bottom profile is not there anymore. I'll have to remove that, but this is how we deal with this stuff. The more you start telling, the more your profiles are removed, the more you are blacklisted, the more you are shadow banned, suppressed, blocked, deleted, things like that. So, I mean, at some point, all these profiles will probably be gone, but you can find me on Rumble and BitChute at Modern American Gangster. You can find me on YouTube at Mud Fossil Research and Truth. You can get The Great Awakening on Lulu.com. A lot of this information, most of this information is taken straight from the book. So I suggest getting a copy. Great Awakening Unit 1 Timeline of Historical Events. Great Awakening Unit 2 Continued Points of Study. There's a digital download, an ebook, or you can get Unit 1 and Unit 2, both versions together in one large book where it all kind of follows the same chronological layout of how all of this has been done. And it explains it really well. I get a lot of compliments on it, but I think it's a way ahead of its time. And until people understand these basic criminal principles, it's just going to go over most people's heads. But it does explain everything very well. It explains where we're at and how things are going. You can find me on n1m.com, Modern American Gangster. I put the audio versions of these lectures or podcasts or whatever you want to call them on there so you can listen to them on there. Something to check out. I hit 103,000 profile visits there. Pretty neat. Um, I'm just waiting to break through onto the other side. We'll see how long that takes. If you'd like to donate, please do so on PayPal, mudfossil124875, if you have the ability to do so. If you find this research helpful, if you have any questions, I usually try to answer everyone's questions. If you send me questions on Instagram or wherever, I really try to answer everyone's questions as best I can because I've done a lot of research and I kind of understand how to connect dots and understanding the questions people ask because most likely those are questions that I had to look up back before I had somebody I could ask, which would be me. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow, leave a thumbs up. Please leave any questions or comments below. That's the end. I hope you enjoy it. And next week, I'm going to get into the Roswell crash and kind of talk about how that all connects to the other videos I've posted at the beginning of the week. So, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. See you next week.